This is Grunt Squad, brought to you in the studio of Wiley Productions, with Sam Mann and Nate Westlake, bringing you all the spreads, picks, and player props.
Welcome in to the Grunt Squad.
Grunt Squad.
Let's go. I'm your host, Sam Mann, and my co-host today, Blake Farver, Nate Westlake. Week 6, Episode 5. We're happy that you're here with us today. Nate, let's start with a short recap of your top 3 player props and your number 1 game this week.
Short recap. Let's get into it. We had another good week. 7-1 on the prop bets and 2-1 in our game bets. But we're going to touch on just 3 prop bets. Alvin Kamara over 26 yards. Crushed it. Just getting so many targets. Guys, Derek Carr, I mean, he just loves a dink and dunk. His only sponsor, his only endorsement should be from Dunkin' Donuts. Wouldn't you say, Sam?
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Come on, he's just dinking and dunking it. And Alvin Kamara over 26 yards. Through 3 games, he's got 25 targets, 23 receptions, and 86 yards. That was a no-brainer.
Everyone likes a nice little caramel macchiato.
Oh, absolutely. And Alvin Kamara is basically like a wide receiver. He's getting 8 to 10 targets. He's getting as many targets as Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. So, loved it. And then Kendrick Bourne. I could not believe this line. Kendrick Bourne over 35 yards receiving. He had 11 targets. He had 10 for 89. It was fantastic. Pats. What I really liked about this bet was, what surprised me that when it was over just 35 was Juju Smith was out and Demario Douglas was out. Demario Douglas is their only young promising wide receiver they have right now, guys. And Hunter Henry's been nowhere to be found. He had 2 targets for no catches last week versus Saints. And then you go to Devontae Parker. He can't separate. So we love it.
Against that Raiders secondary, too.
Exactly, Blake. That Raiders. Exactly. I was shocked by that because Kendrick Bourne's got 44. He's got 44 targets on the year, 28 receptions for 307 yards, averaging 11 yards per catch. So loved it. Cashed it easily cashed it. And then Mike Wilson. We've been talking about Mike Wilson, guys. Mike Wilson's a stud in the making over in Arizona. His over under was 30. We just needed over 30. He hasn't been getting a ton of volume, but he's getting some chunk plays. He's averaging 18 yards per catch. He's only got 22 targets on the year, 18 receptions for 317 yards. But he's, like I said, he's averaging 18 yards per catch. And through 6 games, he's had 4 games where he's had 55 or more yards. So over 30 yards, loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Nice hit.
Yeah, man. And then Detroit, best bet of the week, -3. Just that was loved it all week long.
And that's what we killed it again this week. What, 75% on the year? No big deal.
Dude.
It's been fun.
Okay, Nate, I see you, dog.
I'm telling you.
5%?
I'm telling you. Patreon, you can follow us.
Yeah, please knock
knock on the wood.
Knock on wood.
All the wood.
Goodness gracious.
And you can take it all the way to the bank. Cha-ching.
But those Lions, I couldn't.
Blake's about to lose it.
These Lions, I couldn't. I was surprised this line stayed at 3. I thought this was the Tampa Bay was overvalued. They haven't played many good teams. Baker just reverted back to what Baker's not. He's overachieved this year a little bit. Last week he had some tip balls that resulted in some turnovers. Helped me out a little bit, but and Tampa Bay did exactly what they had to do. They cut one of Detroit's legs out. They made him one-dimensional, and Jared Goff answered the bell, got it done. We got the dub.
I think he's one of the most underrated QBs in the league right now. But anyway, let's talk about some positive things that caught our attention. Let's go right into the Monday night game. Dallas against the Chargers. Blake, you saw great defense on both ends. How do you feel, or what else did you see that either that surprised you or that stood out in this game?
Yeah, I think you first got to look at the coaching on both sides, and you got to start asking the question for both. Like I said, both teams. Like, is this really what we're just going to stick with? Because I mean, you're seeing some bad decision making on both sides offensively. as well as defensively for the Chargers. I mean, I'll start there with the defense in the Chargers before we get into the offense. I mean, there's so much talent. Nate, I think you were saying beforehand they're the highest paid defensive team in the league.
Highest paid defensive team in the league across the board.
And it's like with all that talent, Derwin James, Mack, Bosa, I mean, you can go on and on. They just added so many pieces. And before the season, you could make the argument like this is going to be a legit Super Bowl contending team now with the weapons.
On paper, yep.
Yes, on paper with what they have on offense, now adding to what they have on defense. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Staley's calling the defensive signals now. You should not be that bad defensively. Granted, they looked really good defensively last night. I think that some of that has to do with McCarthy's play calling, though.
And yeah, they looked good in spots defensively last night. It looked like that got it going last night. You know what I mean? It's just situationally with it.
Yes and no. They got a lot of pressure to them though,
They did get pressure. Yeah, you're right.
And I think ultimately, and we've harped on this before. You know, McCarthy's running out of excuses. Oh. I mean, we're at the point now where Jerry Jones is going to have to pull the trigger. If they don't make a deep run in the playoffs, they're going to want his head on a spike, Game of Thrones style. I mean, and you've got no more scapegoats. You got no one else to blame. You wanted to take the play calling. Oh, we want to run the ball and give our defense more time and score less points. Is this real life? Was that actually said? Yes, it was.
Indeed.
It was said. So I think it all falls back on to the inconsistency with the play calling and the average depth of targets and the average depth of Dak's throws versus the last 3 seasons. It's gone way, way down. When you got guys that can open up the field, you got guys that can stretch the field like CeeDee Lamb. Brandon Cooks was getting it going. Gallup has the talent. You know, you've got Jake Ferguson you spent all this draft capital on.
Got rid of Dalton Schultz to give him a more prominent tight end role. I mean, you're 100% correct about the personnel. It's not the personnel. It can't be. Look at all of your weapons, offense and defense. I mean, the Cowboys have an elite defense, even losing Trayvon Diggs, and Trayvon Diggs was like one of those he had a lot of picks and he scored a lot on defense, which made him really, really valuable. But at the same time, he was giving up a lot too.
Yeah.
So, but nonetheless, their defense is elite.
But he was a leader. He was a leader in that back end, though. He was a leader in that back end, and Dallas, they beat the bad teams, and I just want to see them be good against a well-coached
they don't show up.
team. They don't show up in those types of games, and Dak is just when the plays break down and things aren't going well. Dak isn't special. It's just there's no special there. It concerns me. Mike McCarthy. It's not 2008 anymore, guys. It's not the same. This is the only team that would hire him is someone like Jerry Jones. I'm concerned. And I just think last night we just saw 2 teams, 2 pretenders, not 2 contenders. And it's too bad because like you just touched on, this scouting department for Dallas, the scouting department is phenomenal.
Yeah.
They've done a phenomenal job at finding talent, and they just don't know what to do with it.
And I think you can say the same thing about the Chargers.
Absolutely.
Their personnel, they have all of the weapons too.
Absolutely.
And Nate, I know you've been just disgusted with the whole red zone play calling and just the play calling in general. Because of all of those weapons that they have, I think they utilize Eckler well when he's healthy.
Yeah,
I think that's one thing that they do very well. And they try to get the ball to Keenan Allen pretty much as possible.
Well, he's a machine. He's the most consistent guy in the league.
Yeah, when he's healthy. If he can stay healthy.
Yeah, Keenan Allen didn't look right last night. I don't know if did you guys think the same thing? He didn't look right.
I mean,
didn't look like the same
a lot didn't look right in general because those are 2. Again, they have all the weapons, so there's really no reason that they shouldn't be producing more. Which I was happy with because I took the under of the game. So when they came out and both scored touchdowns right off the bat, I was like, geez, this is going to be another bad beat for me. Here we go.
And there was a couple touchdowns that could have been there early on.
Sure.
That game could have went over, but
who would you take? Would you take Dak or would you take Herbert?
Oh, that's not close.
That's not even Herbert all day
long.
every day. It's not even a debate.
Herbert is still close to top 5 quarterback in the league, skill-wise.
Absolutely. This is what's frustrating me so much with this, not only a defensive-minded head coach, but a head coach who just is awful situationally, awful across the board. I don't know what, like I said, I've said this 100 times. Does he have something on the owner, on someone? Like, why is he still here? Why is he not flying Southwest? This is insane.
And you think about it, too. The Chargers, I feel like they are trying to make the right moves. You bring in Kellen Moore, who is a tremendous offensive coordinator. He's proven that. I mean, last year with Dallas had the top scoring offense in the league, right, Sam?
Story checks out.
So
second. Yeah.
Well,
actually, no, it was first.
It was first.
Yeah.
First, second, one of the best in the league.
Still.
First last year, top 3 the year before. They were first 3 years ago.
So, nonetheless, Kellen Moore, he's a great offensive coordinator. So they're bringing him in. They're trying to bring the people in on defense. They're trying. So that's another situation. I feel like they're very similar, where he's running out of excuses now. Staley's running out of excuses now to say, where are we missing the mark? Because they lose to some bad teams, but then sometimes they show up against some great teams. So I don't know, man. I don't know where to go.
They should have beat Miami in week 1. If they were better situationally, they would have beat Miami in week 1.
They were right there for sure.
They were right there. They're right there in every game, and whether they're playing the Raiders or whether they're playing Miami, it's right down to the end every single
every
game.
Yeah.
It's if you're a Chargers fan, oh my goodness,
it's frustrating.
It's going to be more frustrating to be a Chargers fan than it is to be a Cowboys fan.
I will say,
I don't know about all that.
It's close.
You're a Cowboys fan. You're always in the depths of despair. Thank you. Yes.
But Chargers are making a run for the. I'm not even a fan, and I'm pulling my hair out when I watch it.
I feel though that speaks even more to the fact of the point that you brought up about every game is close. But on the other side of the coin, they're in every game. And I feel like they just need that guy to take them just over the top, the coach that's going to just bring them over the top. It's very similar, in my opinion, not necessarily personnel-wise, but it reminds me a lot of when the Bucs had Dungy, and they were playoff contenders. They were contending, but he just couldn't get them over the top. They bring in young Gruden to bring the fire and to bring that different mindset, and they got over the top and won a Super Bowl that first year.
That's a good one. I
don't think Gruden's available anymore. I don't know.
Well,
he's available. I just don't know who's going to take him.
Yeah.
Actually, forgot all about Gruden. But yeah, they got to find somebody. And Ben Johnson, maybe. Ben Johnson, Detroit. Maybe he takes that job. I don't know. We'll see. I've heard he likes the offensive coordinator role. He likes where he's at in Detroit. He wants to do good things there, but that's just somewhere to look. But they got to do something.
Well, let's talk about the no longer unbeaten Eagles. Nate, you look at the Jets playing against the Eagles. Eagles having 5 turnovers in this game. They still had a chance to win out. What else stood out for you in this? That you think why the Eagles didn't make it? I mean, 5 turnovers, that's a lot.
Well, 5 turnovers was huge, and so many points left off the board. Eagles didn't score a single point in the second half. Not a single point. I mean, if you would have told me that, I would have bet the house on that. Insanity. But the Jets did a really good job of confusing Hurts. They did a really good job of making it look like they were bringing the house, and they dropped back in coverage, kind of confused them a little bit. Made him play one-dimensional. Made him throw the ball. Made him and Hurts he's let's just face it, guys. He's digressing this year. It's not the same without Shane Steichen. I'm concerned. I mean, they did lose their best, one of the best right tackles in the world in that game. So, and they couldn't run the ball to save their life in that game. But it's still no excuse for Jalen Hurts to throw a couple of those picks he threw. That was abysmal.
No doubt. Blake, do you think have they figured something out about Jalen? Is the jig up? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's easy. It's easy to have. For him, I think it's easy for him to have a lesser year than he did last year, because last year was his first year as a full-time starter. He started every game last year, and it was a team that nobody had any film on. Nobody knew what they were going to come out and do, and they lit it up. And Nate, you alluded to their easy schedule.
Very easy.
They had an easy schedule. So all those things combined, this year they have film on him, so they know what they're trying to do. So I think that it's it's just going to be a natural thing for year 2 for you to have a lesser year, and you have a brand new offensive coordinator still. You're only 6 games in with this offensive coordinator, and you're still 5-1. They're finding ways to win games while trying to figure out their offense with a top defense. So that defense is going to keep them in the game for the most part.
A top defensive line. Their secondary is not top, and the secondary is bad. I'm worried. They're gonna be looking for people at the trade deadline for the secondary. I'm just gonna say that right now. They need help in the secondary. So
I mean, I still think that they have one of the top defenses in the league right now, and their defense is what's keeping them in games. Their defense is what kept them in the game on Sunday for sure.
Defensive line balled out.
And I mean, we're talking about the Jets. So, I mean, take that with a grain of salt. But still, all the games before that, their defense, except for the Washington game, has kept them in the game.
Against any team that would be decent, they shouldn't have, they would have been blown out with as many turnovers as they had.
For sure.
You know.
So, I think that with game film this year, you know, people are game planning more around Jalen Hurts because he is that good. He's talented. We can't just go off of the first 6 games of a year where he was an MVP candidate the last year and just go, okay, well he's terrible, or he's not going to be able to get it done. Let's give them some time to figure it out, and then let's see in a few weeks, a few more games how it's going.
I'm not saying he's terrible. I don't think he's as good of a downfield passer as everybody thinks.
He never has been.
No, and last year they did so much of that zone read, design quarterback runs, and then they threw off of that, and it worked so well. But when they did face a good quarterback and a good offense that could put up points, they hung a lot of points on the Eagles last year. So this year they got a first place schedule. They won the division. You get a first place schedule. So. Yeah, like I said, I'm a little concerned, but like you just touched on, they're still getting it done. They're still winning. You know what I mean? They still have the best offensive defensive line combo in the National Football League, and that's what wins. That's what gets it done. I mean, you got to win in the trenches, guys.
And you think too. You ask the Eagles at the beginning of the season, 6 games in, if you're 5-1, how do you feel?
Oh, come on.
Take it all day long.
Well, and those are games that they're supposed to win. Before Aaron Rodgers goes out, this game was probably going to be a close to a pick-em, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
It'd be close.
With the Jets D.
With the Jets defense, everybody healthy, all that stuff. I think that this is like one of those big-time games.
Yep.
But they're winning the games that they're supposed to win because their gauntlet of the schedule is coming up starting this week. They got the Dolphins this week. And then I think they play the Bills. In this next stretch of games, they play the Bills. They play the Niners later in the season too. That they have a tough stretch. Cowboys coming up. That's never an easy game.
Bengals.
No matter what we think about the Cowboys, it's a division rivalry game, and they got a tough stretch of games here. So we're going to see what they're really made of. If they can come out of this next 6 games, you know, with only 2 or 3 losses, that's huge for them. That to me would show that they are making some big time strides to being a contender again.
Yeah, I just want to see him get I just want to see him get better on defense. Just in the back end, their front 4 is the best. Is maybe the best in football, but it's that pass defense that really, really concerns me.
Yeah,
that's it.
All yet to be seen. Well, let's talk about again another team that's no longer unbeaten. San Francisco played Cleveland. Blake, talk about the fact that no CMC, Debo gets hurt in this. They exposed Brock Purdy a little bit. I know that we touched on MVP candidate coming into this week, and now with less weapons. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I still think that he's in the conversation of MVPs, and that's a whole nother separate thing. But I think that, I mean, hats off to the Browns for laying it all on the table and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to line up man to man, and you got to beat us. And then you lose CMC, and you lost Debo first, then CMC, and now all of a sudden your weapons are a little more depleted. The crazy thing, they still had an opportunity to win the game, but Cleveland did a great job of just lining up man to man and saying, "Come on, let's go." Especially with that front and Myles Garrett. He's a monster.
He's pretty good.
I mean, I think right now, he's the best defensive lineman in the league. Right now,
Agreed.
And there's some guys that we can argue with that on, but in my opinion, he's the best defensive lineman in the league, right there with Chris Jones. There's some other names too, but he's top notch to me. What do you think, Sam?
I mean, I think they're going to be fine. You've got Jordan Mason, who looked good. He's got the juice. Elijah Mitchell, when he's healthy, we know what he can do. When in game, when you're going through, I think all of these different nuances and different things, when you get blown back, it's about how you respond. They didn't answer the call, and like you said, you got to tip the cap. Sometimes you got to just say, you know what, you guys outplayed us, and they did. They outplayed them.
And you gotta, guys. This is the NFL. I mean, the margins in the NFL are not as wide as
any given Sunday.
They're not as wide as they are in college. Worst to best. It's a small. The gap is
the way the Panthers came out.
Yeah, the Panthers came out
14-0.
14-0. I mean, and touch on it's any given Sunday, and this is the best defense in football. It's not Dallas, guys. It's not San Francisco. It's the Cleveland Browns. And you touched on
that's a hot take.
No, it's the Cleveland Browns without a doubt. They got the best two corners in football. They got really good safeties. They got really good linebackers. Myles Garrett had 31% pressure rate against Trent Williams. That's never been done in Trent Williams' career. That was amazing. They did a phenomenal. And Jim Schwartz, guys, is the kryptonite for Kyle Shanahan. Ever since back in the Atlanta days, Jim Schwartz has gotten. He's just had his number. Every single time he's played Kyle Shanahan, he's had his number. And it was a bummer CMC went out. It was a bummer Debo went out. Made him a little more one-dimensional. But Purdy got it done. Purdy had 3 first downs in that last drive. They went 9 plays, 3 first downs.
Gave him a chance to win, for sure.
Gave him a chance to win. Even after all that stuff, bad weather, cold, cross-country, after coming off a huge game versus Dallas, that's come on. And then they're laying in 9.5 in Cleveland against the backup, third string, I think. And like we just said, it's any given Sunday. You never know. But Purdy put him Purdy gave him a chance to win, and Moody just missed the kick. It is what it is.
I don't know that I would go as far to say that the Browns are the best defense in the league, especially hands down. I think they've had some really good games, and they've had some not so great games. They gave up quite a bit of yards and points to a Steelers team that is very bad offensively. The Niners are consistently not giving up points. Like even in this game, they didn't give up many points every week. They're doing it.
I'll take the Niners, D.
Yeah.
I'll still take the Niners.
I'll take Cleveland gave up 33 yards in the second half, I believe, guys. To the San Francisco 49ers offense.
Yeah.
Debo,
good game.
CMC.
Great game.
I'm just saying, just in my opinion, they're the best defense across the board. So, but hey,
yeah,
we'll have to bet on that maybe.
Any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday.
So another one that we want to touch on is the Bills against the Giants. Now, Blake, how do you feel? Josh Allen struggled to get 2 scores. Struggled against a Giants D that we've seen throughout the season. Is not a thing. The Giants' defense is not a thing. But apparently they were a thing on this Sunday. Blake, touch on some things that you saw.
Nah, I don't think it has as much to do with the Giants' D as it does with just what we can't figure out what's going on in Buffalo right now offensively. Like one week they look. I mean, what did they do to the Dolphins? 48 points up against the Dolphins, and then the next 2 weeks they look mediocre at best. Maybe a little too just only Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen heavy. I think Gabe Davis is a pretender.
Absolutely.
I know that we talked about that before, Nate.
Absolutely. And Dolphins' defense is abysmal too. Well,
and that's crazy. That's crazy too because they added some pieces this year too, just like the Chargers did. They tried to add some pieces. I thought, okay, they're going to be legit. I mean, man.
Well, one of those pieces got hurt.
Yeah, sure, right. But even still, one piece, losing just one piece, you would think they would be better than what they've been, especially against Carolina Panthers team that's just they are awful.
They've been the worst offense in the National Football League.
They've been the worst
5
everything.
weeks.
Actually, they're not bad defensively. They're really not. They gave up they gave up a lot this week, but they're actually not too bad defensively. Overall, that team's bad. But anyway, I digress. The Bills need to figure it out. I know that we talked about, Nate, their defense losing Milano, and you were very adamant about that. What do you think about?
Pound the table on that one, guys. Milano is the captain of that defense, and I don't think it's being talked about enough across the football world in general how important Matt Milano is to this defense. He gets everybody in the right position.
Well, everybody's been focused on Von Miller.
He's the leader of this defense, and he is a freak of nature, sideline to sideline. He's not the best versus the run. Buffalo hasn't been good versus the run in general. Buffalo's given up 5.3 yards per rush before Mike Milano got hurt because they're kind of a dime. They're kind of in a dime coverage every single down because their linebackers are small.
Yeah.
I mean, and Daquan Jones is also hurt, and Matt Milano's also hurt. And it's just that's a huge. I honestly feel like if Matt Milano's out for the year, that ruins their Super Bowl chances, and that stinks. That's a big time bummer for.
You don't think they have enough time to figure it out?
And Davis White, they might, and they're probably looking for the trade deadline. They're probably looking for somebody, whether it's a corner, whether it's a linebacker, whether it's somebody else. They have some depth. They got, Dorian Williams came in last week for his first start. He played really, really well. It's a big loss. It's a big loss, and I don't know if Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs just can't carry this team all the way through. They're not going to beat the powerhouses in the AFC.
They can find a way to get it done. I mean,
and any given Sunday they can, but can they make a 3 or 4? Can they win 4 in a row in the playoffs versus the best and win it all? Because in Buffalo, it's Super Bowl or nothing. Nothing else matters. That's it. We're to that point right now.
At the point that
Wouldn't you agree?
I agree with that for sure. I think though
it means nothing.
Yeah, I think though that week 6, we're going into week 7. They have time to figure it out.
Oh, I agree there. Absolutely.
But are the Bills going to be? I mean, on both sides of the ball, they're going to be buyers at the deadline.
I think they should be.
They need to be all in. They need to be pushing all their chips in the middle of the table. I'm not saying go like the Rams did a couple years, but they need to get what they can get. They need to get better. They need to get a guy like they need a Cole Beasley.
That's an interesting conversation.
They really need a Cole Beasley. They need a guy in the middle of the field that can get open. They can't be so dependent on Diggs like they are. Because Gabe Davis has got. Ever since that huge game that Gabe Davis had in the playoffs versus Kansas City,
4 touchdowns or whatever.
He's made his living since then, and he doesn't run routes very well. He makes plays when Josh Allen, like you said earlier, he's making all of his plays when Josh Allen's making plays. You know what I mean?
He's thriving off of, well, not thriving, but he's playing off of Allen's athleticism. Sam, I got a question for you.
I have an answer
because what Nate just brought up is a really good conversation, I think, or it's a hot take. If you're the Bills at this point now, where you are, you've tried to make deep runs, you've built the team to where you got it. I don't see it getting much better. Do you go all in just like the Rams just to get that one Super Bowl?
I don't see why you don't.
Absolutely. At this point,
I mean, how long has it been since they've gotten one? I don't know that stat.
Never.
Oh, that's right.
They went 4 years in a row. Didn't get it.
So I like you.
Base.
Let's sell it all. The house, the ranch. We'll keep the one roof over our head, and we'll ride it all the way to the championship. Let's ride it all the way.
What do you have to lose though?
I mean,
at this point, you're already with the team that you have. You're already not getting it done.
You got Josh
in what I think, and this could be a hot take or not, but in what I think is a weaker AFC this year than it was last year and a much stronger NFC. I think you have an easier path to the Super Bowl this year than you did last year or even the year before that or the year before that. The NFC is going to be a gauntlet to get through this year. I think if we're talking power rankings, 3 of the top 5 teams in the league right now are from the NFC. And it's probably even a little more balanced as you go down the line compared to the AFC.
Well, the NFC, there's only 3 teams in the NFC that are below 20-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. The AFC, there's 7 or 8 teams that are under 15-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. But the 2 of the maybe the best 2 teams, best 3 teams are in the NFC right now. So you got that one right, Blake.
I just think that those odds may, as we go throughout the season, as we learn more about these teams, that those odds are going to change.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think that some of these teams that we thought in the AFC were going to be like at the beginning of the season, if you said you could pick 10 teams out of the AFC and say all of these teams, maybe not necessarily Super Bowl contenders, but they're all playoff teams. At this point now, I think that you can mark off some of those teams and say, I don't think that they're necessarily playoff teams. They might be in this AFC, but the AFC is not as strong as they've been in the past, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, back to the original point, should they go all in and put themselves in a position to try to win this year? The answer is yes. The answer is yes, and I think
I agree with that.
We've decided with that.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about some other news and notes that's not as great. Let's start with David Montgomery with a rib injury. That's no bueno. How do we feel about the whole Devonta Foreman, Rashawn Johnson? I mean, what's going on there?
Bears?
So, first person we want to bring up is David Montgomery with a rib injury. How do you think that's going to impact their team moving forward?
Well, if Gibbs, what's going on with Gibbs too? Gibbs they had Raymond last week in the back. It wasn't Khalifa. They had Raymond running the ball last week, and kudos to Ben Johnson. Even though they couldn't run the ball, they still kept trying to run the ball just so they could do some play action. Had to have that threat there, and they did a really good job of that last week. But that's a huge injury if Montgomery can't.
Yeah, it's Craig Reynolds.
Craig Reynolds.
Raymond's the receiver, but Craig Reynolds took over. But now I think Gibbs will be back soon.
Yeah,
I think either this week or next week he'll be back. And
they're saying 1 to 2 weeks. Yep.
They're going to be splitting time in the backfield. But this is as much as everybody's been calling. We need to get Gibbs the ball. We drafted him for this reason, and I agree. Like, they have not used Jahmyr Gibbs the way that they should be using him, and what you drafted him for.
They're gonna.
Now they have to.
Yeah, they're gonna.
You're gonna see what Jahmyr Gibbs can really do, because Craig Reynolds, he's not bad, but it's gonna be he's gonna get the majority of the looks.
Montgomery's been so good though.
He has been.
I mean, he's looked electric. It's like the same situation with Zach Moss and JT. Where JT's the guy that's got all the talent in the world, but you got to go kind of with the guy that's brought you here at this point.
Moss has been balling. You're right.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Sam. But it's. I think Gibbs is more of your Alvin Kamara type back. He's a Swiss Army knife, and if they can implement him with Montgomery, all the pieces are healthy. This offense, oh my goodness, with Jameson Williams now. Did you see him on Sunday, guys?
Oh,
my goodness. Alabama, Jameson Williams is back.
That was a great catch
and
in the end zone.
Amon St. Brown and Josh Reynolds. And it's insane what this is going on in Detroit. And good for Detroit fans and good for Detroit in general. And Jared Goff, I know you touched on that last week, like how great that trade was, like for both sides. Maybe the best trade for both sides in the history of the NFL.
They've got a real shot this year,
dude. I haven't been a fan in a long time since I've been handicapping, and I really want these Lions.
Me too.
To make it.
Well, and it also has to do with how bad they've had it forever. I mean, my dad is a huge Lions fan because he was raised in Michigan.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, he's not sorry
Coach.
now. He went to the game with me this last Sunday, and he was just in heaven because he's sitting there just like with a little smirk on his face because he's wearing the creamsicle Bucks bucket hat that they gave out, but he's sitting there secretly rooting for the Lions when they score a touchdown. He's fist bumping the Lions fans.
That's awesome.
So like he's really excited, and all Lions fans should be. By the way, this is a completely separate point, but there were more Lions fans at that game than there were Bucks fans.
That doesn't surprise me.
It was at least 50-50.
That doesn't surprise me in Tampa, guys.
There was so much blue. It was crazy. It looked like a Gator game because of the creamsicle orange in the stands. But anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, I think this Lions team is
they're for real. They are for real.
No doubt about it.
But Montgomery, when he came off the field, he was walking very gingerly.
Yeah.
So but I'm pretty sure it had something to do with his ribs. And that's recoverable. And if they can just hold ground, because their schedule's not tough.
It's just painful.
Yeah,
it's just painful.
But they can get through these next couple games.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
I think they'll be fine too. I think they'll be fine too.
I'm not worried one bit about it.
So another team that's that has lost a lot of hope, like Detroit. Justin Fields, dislocated right thumb. They're expecting him to be out 3 to 4 weeks. I feel like hope is lost. What do you think, Nate?
Hope is lost. That whole city is just head down. What do we do? I mean, this GM, polls. He didn't draft this kid. He didn't draft Justin Fields. I don't think he's like Justin Fields from day one since he's come in.
I can see that.
This might be an excuse for him to, all right, we're cutting ties. This is it. They have they're going to have probably the first and second pick in the draft this year.
And with this QB draft class.
Exactly. They're going to strip this down and start from scratch.
That's going to be interesting.
It's without a doubt, because I just don't think he's not an NFL quarterback, and I'm so sick of seeing all these people say, well, if he went to this team, if he had this situation. No, quarterback play isn't just about your physical tools. It's about your mental tools.
Yep, between the ears.
It's all between the 90% of it's above the shoulders and between the ears. So this might, as bad as it's been this year, this actually might be a good thing for Chicago, guys.
I think though, as much as losing him is going to hurt what they have going on, they need to fix their defense.
This
has got to be the worst Bears defense probably of all time.
Absolutely.
And that's what Chicago's known for, is like their defense. Like we talked about it last week. You can't name a super high profile player offensively for the Bears in 20 years. Like, you think the names that come to mind is like Brandon Marshall.
Roquan Smith, they had him, and they just gave him the Baltimore.
But offensively, they're not known. They're not known for their offense. Is the point?
I think we mentioned Forte or someone like that.
Matt Forte, and
he was a stud.
Yeah, but
for like a couple years.
If those are your best two players of all time in the last 20 years that you're mentioning, then the point being is that you're known for your defense, and then they just wiped out all of that defense and they started over, and it's very, very, very bad. So you got to fix that too, which they'll probably address that with having two of the top draft picks. They're going to definitely have to start somewhere on defense. And I don't even know where you start.
I think you have to start there before you even look at the quarterback position.
You start acquiring talent, and then you build off of that, and you got to get a quarterback. If you don't get the right quarterback, you keep getting quarterbacks. You keep doing it until you find one.
But if you don't have a good offensive line, that you're not. It doesn't matter who's behind center.
Oh, offensive line matters just as much. Like I said, you just
look at the Panthers.
That's what I'm saying. You got to give your guy. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see. Not going to be able to see what a guy can do. So, another one that was devastating is Ryan Tannehill, ankle injury. Apparently, it's the same one from last year.
Devastating in which way, though?
Yeah, is it really that devastating?
I mean, I was saying last week that we should move on from Tannehill.
Right.
Oh, did you say that?
I don't think it's devastating for the team. I think it's devastating for him, because this might be the beginning of the end of his career if he's not already in it. Because what drives me nuts is that they spent that draft pick on Will Levis to be the third string guy. You spent the high draft pick for Malik Willis the year before, and then the very next year you draft another quarterback. What are you doing? What was the point? Why do you really not believe in Malik Willis? And if you don't, then why is he your backup?
I don't think many quarterbacks are going to thrive in an offense like this. This is an old school Bill Belichick. This is almost like the Patriots in Tennessee, basically. This is what I see. And ever since they traded A.J. Brown in that draft, it's went downhill. They're one dimensional with Derrick Henry, and that's all they can do. They try to play good defense. They try to keep it low scoring and stay in games, and that's all they've been, and it's been terrible. And I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if Vrabel's going to stick around. I don't know what the deal is there.
I think they love Vrabel there, though.
I believe in him as a coach.
I do too.
Oh, I love Vrabel. I love Vrabel, but he's not doing it ever. Why did they trade A.J. Brown? Why?
I mean,
ever since that trade, it's been downhill.
You can't put it all on him, though, with that stuff, because he's not the GM. So at the end of the day, the GM's putting together the team. He has say.
He has say.
But I think that I think that they were already struggling. Even when A.J. Brown was there, that wasn't a lightning offensive team. They had a great running game, and then they had a good downfield threat. But you still have that. You still have that today.
They were number 1 seed, though. Number 1 seed in the
A lot of that had to do with their defense and their scheduling and their running game, and also their division was not very good at that time.
But they had at least a threat downfield in A.J. Brown. We're talking a top 5 freak of nature type player that you don't let go like that. That's all I'm saying.
He is an alpha.
Those guys don't grow on trees.
But you think A.J. Brown is a top 5 receiver in the league right now?
Yes, 100%.
Ooh, that's tough.
It's right.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
He's a freak of nature. He's a freak of nature.
I don't think he's top 5. I think there's 5 other receivers that are better than him right now. I think that. And don't get me wrong with what I'm about to say. D Hop now is not the same as AJ Brown now. But I think that D Hop in the right situation, he is still a very good receiver. He runs some of the best routes in the league, and he just has that it factor to him and you've seen spurts of it this year when he gets the ball. Getting the ball from Ryan Tannehill is not the answer for him at this point in his career. I was shocked that he was okay with going to Tennessee when they decided to trade him.
I was too. Yeah.
I honestly thought he was going to go to Kansas City. And what a situation that would be.
We were all rooting for that. I mean, let's be honest.
They need him.
Yeah.
I think they need him.
They need a true one, which they don't have. The only reliable source in Kansas City is Kelsey.
It's Kelsey, and Rice is coming on, and they're going to be buyers at the trade deadline. And Rashee Rice has been playing really well, but that's either here nor there. But I've been out on Hop for about a year and a half now. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he's left. I don't like the way he left Houston. I don't like the way he left the Cardinals, and I don't like I'm not sure. I think he's been on his pretty good behavior since he's been in Tennessee.
There was disgruntlement between him and Kyler, though, and
he doesn't separate. I know you throw it up, he's going to catch it. His ball skills are unbelievable. He just can't separate. He wasn't a good separator when he was in his prime, but he got it done because he was just so savvy and just great hands, and you threw it up anywhere near him, he would make a catch. So,
but yeah, so back to injuries. Another one that we talked about a little bit earlier was Deshaun Watson. Rotator cuff contusion. I mean, you spend all this money on this guy. You talk about going all in. You go all in on this guy, Blake. What's going on in Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, I think that whole entire decision was a mistake in the first place. But specifically about this, I mean, their defense has proven that they are able to get it done and keep them in games. And
PJ did okay.
He did great. I thought he did a great job managing the game, especially against that defense. So, I think that if he can just hold the ground, look, Deshaun this year still has shown those spurts of greatness. He just hasn't been consistent with it. And I think that he doesn't have a whole lot to work with offensively, especially since Nick Chubb is out now. So, the offense is depleted a little bit more, and that this offensive line is not quite the same that they've been in the last few years. Some people that they've drafted have not lived up to what their expectation has been.
So, Nate, are you a believer in Jerome Ford or this offense at all, or do you think this is more of a play calling issue? What do you think?
Guys, they just ran it down San Francisco's throats, guys. They ran for almost 200 yards against San Francisco. Jerome Ford's doing fine. Kareem Hunt looked really good. Yeah. Kareem Hunt surprised me. I
love that one.
You mentioned Kareem Hunt the other. I'm like, Kareem, I'm done with Kareem.
Well, I picked him up in 2 leagues 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did you really? Oh, good.
Looking ahead.
How many points did he have last week? He had to have almost 20.
Last week, no, he didn't have hardly any.
This last week, he had a touchdown. He had a few catches.
I thought you were referring to 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no, I meant against San Francisco.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it just what stinks about this is last year, he had the whole year off. Last year was kind of a stinker. And then this year, it started off kind of slow. And some teams start off slow anyway just because of how this practice works, and they don't get as many days in pads and all that stuff nowadays. But Deshaun started to look like he was getting his legs underneath him. And then this injury happened. So it's kind of a bummer because I want to see because like this is a contract where they really can't get away from it. There's nothing they can really do. They paid him in full, and here you go, because they're the Browns.
That's why it was such a bad decision.
They're desperate. They're the desperate Browns. I mean, come on, what are you gonna do? They saw someone like Deshaun Watson on the market. They grabbed him. They gave him all the money in the world, and here we are. And let's not I believe they got the best defense in football. They got one of the best offensive lines in football. Now, playmaker-wise, Amari Cooper is a baller.
Cooper's a beast.
He's a baller. Njoku can ball. And I think the running back is just fine in Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. So they could be a sneaky, like you said, the AFC. There's a lot of teams in the AFC that could
sneak up in there,
make a push at the end here.
So here's another one that could sneak up in there, and that's unfortunately Anthony Richardson. Looks like he's going to go through season-ending surgery. I know you spoke a lot about Gardner Minshew last week, Blake. How do you feel about this week?
Yeah, he had a bad game, but I think that still going forward, he can, with their schedule, he can still win some games for them. He still has the ability to do that. I mean, he's had games where he's had 300 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns. You know, he has the capability to, not this year, but in general. So he has the capability to play. I mean, Jacksonville's really good. Let's not take that away. They have a sneaky good defense, and their offense when they get things moving. I didn't like necessarily the way that that Trevor Lawrence. See, he's so up and down to me, and now that he's hurt, you know, that's a whole nother conversation. But he's got to get Calvin Ridley a little more involved, because when he gets the ball to Calvin Ridley, they look really, really good. And the week before against Buffalo, that was his go-to guy on all third down situations. It was Calvin Ridley for 10, 11 yards for a first down.
But outside of that game, he hasn't really been involved.
He hasn't, and I think that they need to, because he is
Week 1 he was.
Yes, he was. You're right. But he needs to get the ball more, get some more targets, because he can be an elite receiver.
But that's also opening up a lot for Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk's becoming one of the best possession wide receivers in the NFL right now. And what's his name? Ingram. Ingram's a stud.
I've liked Ingram for a few years now.
And ETN. The ETN. I mean, this is an explosive Jaguars offense. It reminds me of Detroit in the AFC. It reminds me of Detroit. Their defense is better than people think. And you're so used to thinking Detroit Jags. Oh my goodness, bad defense is bad overall. No, this isn't the old days. This is the new days in the NFL, and this is fun. But back to the Minshew.
Minshew, right?
I just Minshew, like you touched on. I think Minshew can get it done. I think he'll be fine. Josh Downs is a really, really solid slot target.
That's his go-to guy.
That's his go-to guy. And Pittman's been really good. And Pierce, who's
Pity City. Let's go.
Pierce is in his second or third year. He's a stud. And then they got the double-headed monster with Taylor and Moss now. So last week he moved the ball well between the 20s, but he turned it over in the red zone. That was a backbreaker. And he's not a freak athlete, but he's mobile enough. Minshew mania. Here we go.
He just has that. He has that fire to him that for me, for quarterbacks, he will put him in the category to win games.
They're feisty.
You don't see it again. Reverting to what we talked about last week, Daniel Jones. Obviously, not the same situation, but I really do compare this situation to Tampa Bay. Because
you said that earlier. I like that.
They look. Tampa Bay's got the weapons. Yeah. Godwin, Evans. You know, look, Rachaad White. He's not bad. He's good. Their offensive line run blocking is one of the worst in the leagues. But I think Minshew has an even better situation because his offensive line is a little bit better than the Bucs' offensive line.
And a phenomenal play caller in Shane Steichen.
Right. So what I think is that if Gardner can just not turn the ball over, just like you're asking Baker Mayfield to do, just don't turn the ball over and run the offense the way that we need it to run, I think that he can win some games.
They can give themselves a shot.
Give them a shot.
They'll be there. Wouldn't you agree, Sammy?
I do.
They'll be there in the end.
I absolutely think they can be there. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's talk about some guys that pooped in their big boy pants. Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Sammy said a bad word.
Yeah, well, listen, no, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Wow.
Listen,
that's crazy.
listen. No, but all jokes aside, Lamar, what do we think about just the entire Baltimore situation?
Yeah.
Go, Nate.
Lamar, I can't figure. I tweeted this to you. I cannot figure this Baltimore Ravens offense out. They're moving the ball extremely well between the 20s. Musgrave, the new offense, this new scheme they have in there. They got weapons. The running game's actually working. But they're getting in the red zone and they're running the ball and they're not getting it done in the red zone. They were 1 of 6 last week in the red zone. They should have blew out Tennessee last week.
And you know what I
Shouldn't
noticed?
even have been close.
You know what I noticed with them
I'm
is
worried.
they keep shooting themselves in the foot with penalties in the red zone. They continue to put themselves behind the sticks. Every time they'll drive, holding penalty on first down. Now you're 1st and 20. Okay, and so they put themselves in a position to where they have to make up yards, and then by the time that they make up enough yards, they're not getting first downs in the red zone, or they're not scoring in the red zone, so they have to kick field
They're
goals.
bottom 3 or bottom 4 teams in the league penalty-wise anyway.
It's bad. They
Not to mention doing it in situations where it's like the worst spot that you can do it is when you're in the red
I
zone.
didn't know that in the penalty department.
Yeah, I mean, 1 of 6 in the red zone speaks to them continuing to shoot themselves
all
in the
year
foot.
long. They should have routed Pittsburgh. They should have routed Tennessee last week. That game was way too close. It was way too close, and they got too many weapons now. Aguilar's done a phenomenal job. I love that pickup. Flowers is a stud. They hit on that. I miss the old offense where you had the threat of Lamar run, pass, or throw. That was so hard to defend. And I get it. They had to get away from it because Lamar wants to prolong his career. They just gave him a lot of money. They don't want him getting his hurt as much. So
He's still running quite a bit.
exactly. That's what I said.
That's what he does best.
But
Yeah, I mean that.
so why are you getting away from the offense that was winning 86% of the games in the regular season when he was healthy?
I think some of it has to do with personnel.
They're lacking a true alpha. I mean, you talk about a team that could be a step or two away from that breakthrough. I think Baltimore's
they're right
in that conversation.
They're right there, Sammy. That's why I said to you, and that when I texted you, I can't figure this team out.
And I think that that's another situation, just like the Chargers, that they're in every game.
Yeah,
Like every game is close, except for I think like maybe week 1 or 2 they won like 24-6 or something like that. But in the games that they're losing, they're not getting blown out. They're in every single game.
For sure.
I agree.
Well, let's talk about another one of the final situations that we'll touch on is the whole Kansas City. Mahomes. He doesn't. This offense doesn't look the same. It just doesn't.
Guys.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nate.
No, keep going. Sorry, Sammy. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. They're lacking a true number one. The only thing reliable on that team is Kelsey. That's the only reliable threat. Outside of that, it's you flip a coin and maybe it's Sky Moore, maybe it's Blake. How do you feel about just Kansas City's offense in general and their defense that's been inconsistent?
If I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm extremely frustrated because they continue to not help me out if I'm him. Like, you trade away Tyreek Hill, and I know that was a special situation because he wanted out and all this other different type of stuff. But you trade away one of the best receivers in the league.
They won a Super Bowl.
Yes, they did. But let's go back to what I was saying. Like, they continue to get rid of pieces and just bring in little pieces and say, okay, well, you're so good that you can make anything work. Well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. Like, they're going to be buyers at this trade deadline, but the rumors that I've been hearing is that, like, what they're going to be buying on receiver-wise is going to be McCole Hardman. Like, you already had him. He's decent. He's not doing anything in New York. But, like, is that really what the answer for them?
Not long term, but I guess they're looking for somebody that can potentially stretch the field. And
yeah, guys, to me, this is a great issue for Kansas City. A great issue. When we're looking at Kansas City, guys, and we're saying that their offensive wide receivers are the weakest part of this team, that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. This is the best defense and the best overall roster. I believe, that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have had since they've been together. So I think this is a good problem. I think they'll be just fine. They've been in every game. Patrick Mahomes is magical. Rashee Rice is coming on. They're going to be buyers at the trade deadline. They're probably going to go out and try to get a Cortland Sutton or a Darryl Mooney or a maybe Hunter Renfrow. I don't know if the Raiders would trade in division, but someone like that. But like I said, Rashee Rice has been coming on, and if this defense is
Renfrow would be interesting.
Yeah, Renfrow would be interesting, a slot guy like that.
And they're selling him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're selling, yeah. But like I touched on, this defense is flying around. This defense is legit in all three levels. And then Andy Reid drawing up plays, the screen game, Pacheco, McKinnon, all the above. Mahomes running all. Like I said, if this is your biggest problem is your wide receivers, is that a bad thing? Because I believe Kansas City and San Francisco are the two best teams in football. Would you agree, Sam?
I would agree with one of those teams. Yes.
What, San Fran?
Yes. I don't think Kansas City's number 2.
Okay. I think Kansas City is the best team in the AFC overall. You think Miami?
I would take Miami right now over Kansas City.
I mean, it's close. It's close.
Yeah, and I just think for whatever Miami lacks on defense, they make up for in so many different ways on offense.
Oh yeah.
So
insane.
Yeah, they're crazy. So something that we started doing last week is we pick a game, and the game this week is the Saints in Jacksonville. And since I lost the game last week, I'm choosing this game, and I'm picking the Saints -3.
You won the game.
I won the game.
Yeah, I took the Chargers +2.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
What the heck? Okay.
Yes.
What the heck are you two talking about right now?
No, so obviously you're going to join in a part of this.
Okay, fill me in.
So we're gonna pick the game is the Saints against Jacksonville. It's in New Orleans, and the line currently is the Saints -3.
Thursday
Night football.
And we don't even know if Lawrence is playing right now. Whether he's not.
Based on that line, you don't think he is.
Short week too.
CJ Beathard.
But I'm going to take my Saints. Let's go.
CJ.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
I gotta flip the coin.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Trevor Lawrence plays.
And you know what? I hope Trevor Lawrence still plays and the Saints still win. That's what I hope happens.
Trevor Lawrence plays. The Saints aren't winning.
That's the spirit. That's what I like to hear. So who do you like, Nate?
As of right now, I got to go with the Saints because I don't think Trevor Lawrence is playing. I think they have to sit him with this knee injury on a short week. You can't risk that. You can't risk the rest of the season because of that. But yeah, Saints.
Yeah. So there we go. Sorry. Go Saints. And loser at the end of the season gets a pie in the face.
Maybe Jameis. So. Maybe Jameis plays a little bit.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Please, if you haven't already, follow us on where you're hearing this, whether that's Spotify, Apple. Look us up on Patreon. That's how you can support our team here, and that's what is going to allow us to keep going. And you get all the picks each and every week. And thank you to Wicked Pecker Off-Road. We thank you so much for all your support. And that's going to do it for us, guys. We will see you next week.
See you.
Cotton. Yeah, see you guys.